Alright, question number 3. We want to find an equivalent expression for -3 cosecant CSC of x minus pi over 2. Okay, so what you want to think about is CSC is the reciprocal of secant. So I'm just going to write that relationship over here. CSC of x is equal to 1. I said secant 1 over sine, actually. 1 over sine x. Okay. So that's the relationship between those two. So we need to know what happens with sine, so I can know what happens with secant. Or we can just use our trig cheat sheet and we'll see. So I'm going to go over to the trig cheat sheet, and what we're looking at are the co-function formulas. There we go. So these functions right here are what we're looking for. So notice this is CSC and it's pi minus theta. What we're given is CSC, and it's kind of in the opposite direction. It's theta minus pi, but they use x as the variable. Alright, so what you need to understand is that the difference between this, okay, so if I have, just use some numbers for example, if I say 5 minus 4, that would give me a positive 1. But if I switch these, 4 minus 5, that would give me a negative 1. So the difference between what we want to find and what we're given in the trig cheat sheet is that this will be a negative. This will be a negative inside of the parentheses. So I'm just going to put a negative here to remind myself this is going to be the opposite sign. That's the end result. Okay, so if I go back to the trig cheat sheet, see what we see is CSC pi over 2 minus theta, that's equal to secant. Okay, so this part would be equal to secant of theta, but we need to figure out what does that negative do. So if we go up, we have some even odd functions, so it shows us what happens. When you deal with CSC and you have a negative inside, that negative will transpose outside, so it'll just multiply the outside by a negative. Okay, so using that property, it means that we're going to multiply this function by a negative because the signs have changed. Okay, so going back to our original problem, this function gives us secant, but we're going to multiply the outside by a negative. So it was a -3 already. So basically what this is I'm going to multiply by a negative. That -3 is going to come down, and then this part right here is what the formula is showing, just that part. And that part becomes secant, and then the trig cheat sheet shows theta, but since our variable is x, we're going to use secant x. Alright, so at the end of the day, negative times a negative is a positive. So this function simplifies to a positive 3 secant of x. Okay, so that's how you use that formula to simplify that. So it's going to be a positive 3 secant x.